huge thanks to OK Jazzy. They're your go-to for the 2026 World Cup and an incredible retro archive. They got decades of iconic league classics, from legendary 90s designs to the rarest club heritage kits. Whether it's a high-performance player version or a timeless vintage look, prices start at just £15, 4.5 Trustpilot rating and fast shipping. Use code Chris for 8% off and grab your piece of football history now.
Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another edition of the Spurs Chat Podcast. I'm at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. My name is Chris Cowlin, and this evening I'm joined by three very special guests as we will be talking about Tottenham's 5-1 win against Charlton Athletic in the Carabao Cup second round. Of course, during the podcast, we will have live reaction to the draw as well. That takes place very, very soon. Now, it was a really decent night at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Savio made his debut here at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, scoring on his debut as well, and everyone has smiles on their faces. And of course, next time around, we are back here at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium against Newcastle, back in Premier League action this coming Saturday. Really looking forward to it. Now, as I mentioned, Spurs 5, Charlton 1. Mikey Moore putting Spurs 1-0 up after 41 minutes. Dominic Solanke making it 2-0 after 45 minutes. Kevin Danso then came on, scored straight away after 67 minutes. Savio scoring on his debut after 82 minutes. And Ben Davies scoring Tottenham's fifth after 85 minutes. Of course, Savio thought he had a brace in this game. Jones then got a consolation for Charlton in the 87th minute. Assists tonight from Bentancur, Moore, Fernandez, Gray and Savio. Now the match facts and stats. Spurs had 72.6% of the ball. Charlton had 27.4%. Shots, Spurs had 20. Charlton had 6. Shots on target, Spurs had 11. Charlton had 4. Total touches inside the opposition box. Spurs had 45. Charlton 8. Goalkeeper saves. Spurs 3. Charlton 6. Aerial duels 1. Spurs 17. Charlton 12. Fouls committed, Spurs 5, Charlton 11, and corners, Spurs 11, Charlton 6. Now, Gareth McGuinness is back with us. Gareth, how are you?
All good, Chris. Long time no see. It's been a while, so it has. But I don't know. It sounds like party time at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium there. So everybody seems they have had a good night. 5 goals, 5 different scorers, 5 different assisters. Listen, we're not going to get too carried away, but it's a step in the right direction.
We'll get into the football in a minute. I'm just saying hello at this stage. We've also got Kate with us. Kate, how are you?
I'm good. Thanks, Chris. Always good to be here. Feeling much better than I did last Saturday. So, yeah, life's good at the moment. I'm enjoying it.
And also back with us is Tim. Tim, it's been a while. Great to have you back with us. How are you?
Yeah, cheers for inviting me again, Chris. Yeah, no, much better after Saturday. I'm not going to moan about Saturday too much, but much better. Feeling stronger after that one. But we'll get into that, right?
Absolutely. Well, Gareth can't wait to talk about the game. So, Gareth, let's start the show with you. Come on, we've scored 5 goals this evening. We needed a reaction, particularly after Saturday's performance and results. Nice to see some of the players come back. Mickey van der Ven, we'll get into all of this, but nice to see the likes of van der Ven back this evening as well. Savio, of course, making his debut. What did you make of the performance and result this evening?
Look, we have to put the game into perspective. It was Charlton. It wasn't Premier League opposition. There was mixed reports about Charlton's team. I don't know Charlton's first 11 to their second 11. I don't know how strong a Charlton team it was, but you can only play what's in front of you. I thought first half it felt very pre-season like, didn't it? Very much two teams that were, the intensity levels weren't really there. Spurs were kind of jabbing, almost like a boxer jabbing without really going for a knockout punch. The 2 goals before halftime changed the game, and maybe there was although we know we're not in top condition at the moment, as De Zerbi mentioned at the weekend, maybe there was a little bit of bruises from Saturday in terms of confidence levels, because we didn't seem to have a lot of confidence to play quickly and play forward and do things fast in that first sort of 40 minutes. But 2 goals kind of changed the game, and I think the crowd up until then they were patient for long spells, but I think towards the end of that first half, before the first goal that Mikey Moore scored, there was a little bit of people getting fed up with what they were watching, in terms of they wanted that wee bit more intensity in the play. And look, we do have to remember it is only week 1 of the season. We tend not to have a second round League Cup game. It's only the second time it's happened in a long time. And it has been a better outcome in this occasion. But the second half was much better. Players seem to find that little extra gear, but more confidence in their play. And in the end, it became very, very comfortable. Look, I've been on the podcast quite a lot over the last week, and we've spoken about a lot of negatives. There was a lot more positives in that second half tonight, but that isn't really the metric in terms of judging how we're going to be this season. It'll all come down to Saturday now. It's really important that we got through tonight. Well, it was going to be 1-0 or 5-1. It's always better when you score goals. There's been a lot of different goal scorers tonight, players that have made an impact, and we'll speak about some of them. I don't want to name drop anyone at the moment, but listen, it'll definitely give the fans that are going to the game on Saturday a lot more confidence going into the Newcastle game, just based on they've seen some goals tonight, they've seen some good play, and players will definitely get a lift, even though it is Charlton, just from scoring goals and having a lot of possession in the second half, and it was very, very comfortable. So, listen, job done. The draw's upcoming, Chris. I'm sure you'll let us know who we're going to get, but full focus on the Saturday now. No one's going to remember the Charlton game if Saturday goes south like it did at Brentford.
Kate, how are you feeling this evening after seeing us put 5 goals past Charlton, and how have you felt the last couple of days since that defeat against Brentford?
How have I felt? I started having a mini panic that perhaps it wasn't going to be the season that we've all anticipated it was going to be. I've still got some concerns, I'm not going to lie, but feeling better today. I did put out a video that's saying that we've got to be careful of underestimating Charlton, but when I saw their lineup, I think they made 10 changes. They left out 3 of their best players out of the squad completely. So I'm not surprised that we won. I didn't expect us to win. I thought the first half was a little bit sloppy until the goal went in. And then I think, like Gareth said, it was quite comfortable. Great to see 5 different people score. Great to see Solanke get a goal. Obviously, amazing to see Savio score on his debut. Also, I thought it was nice to see Van de Ven come on, get some minutes in the old legs, and Porro. Some disappointing performances as well, but generally, I'm glad that we won, and it's on to the next one. Tottenham have had a bit of a history of going out early in some of these cups, so it's nice to get through to the next round and hope we don't get a terrible draw like Chelsea away or something in the next round.
Tim, let's come to you. Let's get your thoughts on today's performance and result.
A win is good for the mood, right? It's good for the mood. It just brings you up. And I still feels we're slightly in pre-season. And the first 40 minutes felt like that. It was good possession, but that was about it. Not particularly creative. The goals definitely changed everything. And of course, 10 changes? So it's like Charlton's second 11, but you can only play what's in front of you. And those kids had something to prove, right? And it was quite physical that first sort of half an hour or so. There was a lot of challenges going in. I remember a few shoulder barges and it getting a bit fruity at times. But I suppose overall, I was pleased, not just that we won, but we had sparkles of stuff to come, with Porro and Savinho down the right late on, looked like magical. Fernandez, first half an hour I was thinking, where is he? And then I can't remember what exactly, about half an hour, 38 minutes I put it. He kind of just shrugs a player off, turns and does it. And I think, oh, hello, this looks good. So there were little flashes of really, really nice stuff. Yes, some disappointments, but nothing too terrible. I like that Mikey got his goal, and that clearly got his confidence up, because before that he was getting in positions and making some sort of dodgy choices, couldn't get past the first man, etc. And as soon as he got that goal, he seemed to have the confidence to run and dribble and do some things. So that was a massive positive. Ben starting is just a legend, right? He could sit on a bench for a year and still play a good game. So solid as a rock. So overall, like, really pleased with what was put in front of us, because that's all we could do. And I felt, certainly after half time, words were had, and it felt much more quick in the pass, much more one touch. It was a bit laboured for the first 40 minutes or so, half an hour, 40 minutes. Second half really picked up quite a lot, but I'm sure we'll get into that.
Tim, how optimistic are you feeling about the season overall?
I'm feeling pretty optimistic. I know De Zerbi traditionally goes for a really slow start because he's still kind of drilling into people how he's going to play. And you can kind of see that they were lost on Saturday. It was a pretty dismal performance. But I think what I saw tonight, and I know it's a league down and a second thingy, but you could see flashes of how good people are. Bentancur was pretty solid. We've got depth now. And when people are coming on later, like Pedro and Savio, right? We've got to call him Savio now, haven't we? Savio come on, you're thinking they're going to be, that's going to be a special relationship. So I think, bunker down, boys and girls. It's going to be a few weeks of not that great. I think a bit patchy, but I've got a feeling a month to 6 weeks and we'll be purring a little bit better. I'm feeling really positive. And we sign Mamouche. Come on, man. Then it's a different game, I think. Different game completely.
Now, Tottenham Hotspur have just drawn against Liverpool away.
Yeah.
Facing Liverpool at Anfield.
I just seen it come up on my screen here. Oh my god.
Oh dear.
Liverpool away. Yeah, let's before we go any further, Gareth, let's get your reaction to that draw. Liverpool away for Tottenham.
I kind of had a feeling that it was going to be nasty, just based on I've seen this new draw format that they separate sort of the European teams from the non-European teams. So, there was every chance. I think there's 11 teams in Europe, so there was every chance you were going to get a strong opponent, really. That's nearly half of the teams left in the draw. There's, 11 out of 32, us being the 12th team. So there's a good chance it was always going to be one of them teams in Europe. But Liverpool is potentially one of the tougher ones. We don't necessarily have a great record there, but they flip it around. I don't think Liverpool teams notoriously take the League Cup third round that strong. I would be shocked if it was Liverpool's first 11. So, whilst it will be a daunting trip, I do think that is not going to be Liverpool's first team that we're going to play. And with Spurs not having any European commitments, there's really no excuse for it not to be our best 11 going to play that game. So, it may be an opportunity to get a famous victory at Anfield. Would we have liked something easier on paper? Of course. But from my knowledge, and I have a lot of my friends, all my friends I combine in terms of football teams, Liverpool is the most supported team from all of them. And Liverpool, I would watch a lot of them. And I just remember over the years, League Cup games, especially in the early rounds, they do not tend to play maybe even one or two. It could be a complete change in terms of 11 changes for that game. So it may be an opportunity for us to go there and get a one. I don't think we've won there since 2011. I believe Van der Vaart and Modric scoring a penalty. So that is quite a long time not to be won at Anfield. So this may be an opportunity to do that.
Kate, let's get your reaction very quickly to the draw against Liverpool.
Easy. Lovely jubbly. It was obvious. It was just obvious it was going to happen. But I agree, they're probably going to put out a slightly weaker team. They don't tend to take this that seriously. I'm not sure when the games are, but Liverpool, they're still getting used to, they're in transition as well. Look, it's not out the realms of possibility that we could beat them.
Sorry, Kate. My group chat's just going off, but Liverpool fans have just reminded me they played Crystal Palace in the third round at home last year. They made 11 changes and got beat 3-0. So
that's what I mean. So I would, it could have been worse. It certainly could have been better. But if you're going to win these things, you've got to beat the best. So, it doesn't matter if we beat them now or lose to them now or lose to them or beat them in the semi-final. It is what it is. So it's just, we'll have to wait and see. It'll be an interesting game.
Yeah, the third round fixtures will take place week commencing the 7th and the 14th of September over a 2-week spell. Tim, your thoughts on the draw against Liverpool away?
Yeah, it was always going to be a big team, wasn't it? I'd like to point out we've won 4 times in our history at Anfield, and I feel this would be a really good opportunity to beat them. They will play a weakened side. I think De Zerbi will be up for winning some of these cups, so I think we'll get a strong side, and maybe it will chance to kind of kick the curse a little bit of Anfield. I'm not too worried about it. I think this is 3 weeks away, 2 to 3 weeks away. So I feel we should be in a better position then. Might have some people back from injuries. I'm feeling reasonably confident, actually. Hey, why not? I quite fancy us winning this cup.
You never know. You never know. Right, Gareth, let's come to you. Let's talk about the starting 11 today. Kinski, Van Hecke, Tell, Udogie, Gray, Bergvall, Fernandes, Solanke, Bentancur, Davies is captain this evening, and Mikey Moore. The sub-bench today, Dubravka, Robertson, Danso, Gallagher, Richarlison, Savio, Pedro Porro, Van de Ven, Williams, Barnett. When you saw the starting 11 come out this evening, what did you think?
Wasn't really surprised. I knew we didn't have a lot of options. I knew the likes of Van de Ven, Pedro Porro, Savio weren't going to play 90 minutes. So I knew that De Zerbi wasn't blessed with options. I knew it would be quite a strong team, and a lot of players that played at Brentford would play in this game. So no real surprises. Whatever team that De Zerbi picked, I couldn't really see myself coming on the podcast after, and if we did go out to Charlton, I couldn't really see the team selection being an excuse for losing to Charlton. So whatever team he picked, for me, it was on the players to get them through the game. Player for player, level for level. There was no reason for whatever team that De Zerbi picked that shouldn't have been capable of beating Charlton at home. So for me, it was one of those team selections that I didn't really think had a lot of bearing on what the game should have been.
Kate, what did you make of the starting 11 this evening?
It was different to what I thought it would be. I think I was the most shocked that he played Bergvall, because for me on Saturday he was abysmal, and I thought again tonight he was abysmal. I had a feeling that we might have seen Williams Barnett actually get a start tonight. But I thought Dubravka might get a start, but do you know what? Everybody, I did a pre-match show and everyone was moaning, saying we definitely lose with this team, but it just goes to show you, what do we know? I was just really glad that he gave Davies the captaincy and not Archie Gray, because I think that hung heavily around his shoulders, if I'm honest. On Saturday, he looked nervous from the minute he stepped on the pitch. So, but yeah, I mean, to be honest, that team there is good enough to beat Charlton. The Charlton that came out tonight, had they have played their full team, I would have been a bit nervous. But because they made so many changes, I think it was a good lineup.
What about you, Tim? What did you make of the starting 11? And I also wanted to mention how important it is to get this win, after that defeat away at Brentford and just before the game against Newcastle here at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium on Saturday, and the fact that we have had last season in particular such a poor home record. So that needs to be put right. And, the preparation going into that Newcastle game, it was very important that we got that type of attacking performance and pleasing performance for the fans.
Yeah, I think it was a pretty good compromise, because obviously we're playing in 3 days, a very important match, and we need to win that match on Saturday. So I thought, there's a few I was a little surprised at, like Kate, but Bergval or Berryval or what are we supposed to call him now? But they're all changing their names. And the front was like, oh, here we go. I'm not quite sure how this is going to go, but I think it panned out quite well, because obviously you've got to be careful of bringing people off starting people that aren't particularly match fit and need to be a little bit protected. People like Mickey and Pedro Porro and the like. So I thought it was a good way, a good starting 11, but still having some firepower on the bench. I think it does show how weak we are in some areas. For instance, right back, on the left-hand side, etc. And I think that's good for De Zerbi then to go to the board and say, "Come on, let's finish this buying spree off." But in essence, I wasn't overly surprised. I thought it was a good mix of youngsters and experience that kind of would get us over the line. But we had enough, in the gas tank for later in case it went a bit Pete Tong, really. So yeah, no, I thought it was a pretty good pick.
Gareth, let's come to you. Let's talk about the match itself, because, or actually, before I do, I just want to say that there was a minute's applause for Tottenham Hotspur legend Terry Dyson, who sadly died last week. A lot of the legends and his family were at the game this evening. Now, after 15 minutes, Charlton had two players go off and replace. One of them went off on a stretcher. So I'm sure that Nathan Jones, his game plan would have gone out the window at that point. Now, after 23 minutes, Roberto De Zerbi looked very unhappy with our attacking play, and particularly the fact that the final ball just was not good enough after 23 minutes of the game. Now, after 24 minutes, Lucas Bergval was given a yellow card. He brought a player down in the final third, free kick. And then 2 minutes later, Charlton had a chance, shooting from 30 yards, Kinski making a good save. And then just a minute later, Charlton had another chance, which was headed just wide. What did you make of the game at this point after 27 minutes? Because it didn't look great from Tottenham.
Yeah, it was kind of like we spoke about in the introduction there, the first 40 minutes or so. But those first 30 minutes in Charlton did have that kind of spell from 25 to 30, where those couple of chances, it all seemed to go off that Bergville free kick and yellow card. But up until that point, I thought that we were really sloppy. It was very slow and pedestrian, and the crowd was very they were very quiet. And then there was the odd murmur after that, then, that not that they were putting any distress signals out, but I think they were just expecting a little bit more from what they turned up at the game. They probably expected they maybe see a goal in the first 30 minutes, especially when they seen the team and they seen the likes of Mateus Fernandes, Matisse Tell and Dominic Solanke, and Mikey Moore had another opportunity. There was plenty of attacking quality on there. They really hurt this Charlton team. And as I says, don't know too much about Charlton's squad, but there was a lot of talk that it was very much a second string Charlton team. So that would have been on the thoughts of the fans who were at the game too. So up until that point, I thought it was really, really sloppy. But did I really feel we were under any pressure? Not really. I only had those couple of chances, and those sort of 25 to 30 minutes that you spoke about. But I always kind of felt once Spurs got one goal, this would take care of itself, and that's what it turned out to be in the end.
Okay, let's come to you. After the 30-minute mark, Dominic Solanke had a shot which was blocked. Gray then had a shot that was saved by the goalkeeper. After 35 minutes, ball comes out to Matisse Tell. He shot well wide. On 38 minutes, Destiny Udogie, good work from him, beating a player, crossing into the box. It was then cleared. It came out to Matisse Tell, and then the shot was blocked. A minute later, Mateus Fernandes with a shot from 20 yards straight at the goalkeeper. And then came Tottenham's first goal after 41 minutes, Mikey Moore. Now, what did you make of Mikey Moore's finish? Because he was criticised on Saturday. He had 3 good chances against Brentford, failed to put the ball in the net. Now, I wanted to get you to talk about the goal itself, and also, how would you like to see Mikey Moore's development happen? Because there is still a lot of talk about him going to the Bundesliga to play for Cologne on loan for the rest of the season. Or would you like to see him stay with Roberto De Zerbi and De Zerbi to work with him?
I thought it was a good goal. I thought, we had, like you say, we had chance after chance, and I was starting to think, God, is it ever going to go in? And then when I first saw it, I thought perhaps the keeper should have done better, but there was real power on that shot from Mikey Moore, which was good to see. He definitely looks like he's bulked up, and made himself stronger. So that's always good. It's a difficult one with Mikey Moore, because he's definitely not ready. But at the same time, we're not blessed with an array of wingers, and what with injuries and stuff. But at the same time, I don't know how many games he'd start, so I don't want to halter his progress. I think a loan would probably be a good idea for him. In a selfish way, I'd like him to stay around and De Zerbi to work with him, because we all know De Zerbi's really good at developing young players. But for him personally, I think maybe he needs to go out on loan, get a bit more experience. I think the Bundesliga is quite a good place to go. I would have rather seen him go to sort of a championship team, or maybe a lower level Premier League team. But look, I like him. I just don't think he's ready. But then I kind of feel the same about Archie Gray, and I kind of feel the same about Bergvall as well. Their work rate's good, but I mean, I would have sold Bergvall. Sorry to go off on a tangent, but I would have sold him for the 55-60 million that we was offered. And Archie Gray at right back looks like he's going to be our backup right back, and he's just not good enough in that position for me. So it is difficult, because obviously our homegrown quota as well, I don't know how that stands with Mikey Moore, but I know it'd affect Bergvall and Gray. So I'm not sure. For his personal career, if I'm not being selfish, I think a loan is probably the best thing for him.
Before I come to you, Tim, in the press conference just now, Roberto De Zerbi has been talking about drawing Liverpool away in the third round. He said, great, it's a great game. If we want to win the competition, we have to win the game. Sometimes you have to play in the beginning against a big team. It's a great challenge for the players and a great challenge for me. I love the fact that he's talking about winning it already, or wanting to win it, because let's face it, a domestic cup is way overdue at Tottenham. The last one was 2008, and the FA Cup last one was 1991. It was a crazy stat. Anyway, Tim, feel free to talk about the first goal, Mikey Moore, and also I wanted to ask you about Tottenham's second goal just before the half-time break. Dominic Solanke, I felt that this evening was very important for Dominic Solanke to make an impact and to get on the score sheet.
Yeah, I can't add too much to what Kate was saying. I pretty much agree with all that. Like I said before, I think he was misfiring a bit coming into up till he scored the goal, and then I think it freed him when he took a swing at that one and connected well and got it. So, but with Dom, I thought Dom was playing really well at that point. Unlike Richie over the weekend, the ball was sticking with him. He was spraying the ball about a bit. He was definitely a target man, and if anyone needed a goal tonight, it was Dom. And it was it seemed to be bouncing around in the box, and all of a sudden, bang, in the back of the net. And that's what a striker should be. So I was really pleased that he did that. I thought he had a good game all round. He was actually being the centre forward we needed. We've desperately needed over certainly the beginning of this, the end of last season, and the beginning of this. And it seemed perfectly timed, because like Gareth was saying, it was such a stodgy game for the first, 35, even 40 minutes, that I thought, this could be a problem. If they nick a goal, it could be a problem, because we weren't looking creative. So to get two quick goals just took all the weight off them, and you saw what the difference was in the second half. I'm with Kate with Mikey Moore. He needs to go on loan. Love him, and I think he's a brilliant prospect for the future. He just needs to A, grow up a bit, and B, just get a bit more experience. I prefer it to be a Premier League, a lower Premier League team. I'm not suggesting we've been anything but that for the last two seasons, but traditionally a lower Premier League team, I think would do him some good. Just the way he's making his choices and options, going a bit wrong on occasion, shooting not so good, just feeling a bit tentative. I think that will build him up his ambition a bit better over the next few months, really. I think, and I love what De Zerbi was saying. I love the fact that he was saying, we can win this. Let's go and win this. rather than, well, do you remember the beginning of last season, which was, yeah, we're going to lose a few teams. It's going to take a while to build, be patient. De Zerbi saying, let's go and win it. Let's get some people on the pitch and win this game. So overall, really happy with how that first half ended, bearing in mind it started really stodgy and it set it up perfectly for the second half for me.
Gareth, let's come to you. How important was it that Dominic Solanke got on the score sheet today? Because we're talking a lot about attackers, we're talking a lot about goal scorers and forwards. Certainly in that final third area, we've spoken about it all pre-season. We're looking to bring in Omar Mamouche. I know we'll talk about Savio shortly, but very important that Dominic Solanke, for his own confidence as well, got on the score sheet this evening.
Well, obviously strikers, they want to score goals and they always feel better when they do score goals. I mean, it was a tough day on Saturday for the strikers. Obviously, Richarlison took a lot of criticism. Zerbi spoke about Solanke, how he has to do better, when he come on. So, a goal against Charlton, does it help? It does, but, as I says, Chris, I wouldn't be going down the route of this game of judging metrics. As Kate spoke about Mikey Moore there, he probably had a difficult first 30, 35 minutes, but after he got his goal, he looked like a different player. But does that mean that Mikey Moore's ready to be Spurs' right winger? Probably not. Does he deserve the criticism he got on Saturday? Absolutely not either. He's a player that's going to learn and develop, and I'm not sure if he goes out on loan or not. If Spurs bring in players, it probably will, but it needs to be the right loan for him. So while Solanke will take confidence from that goal, it's all about doing it against better opposition now. And I think if that goal can lead to a goal against Newcastle at the weekend, then massively it could be seen as not a big turning point, but we season started it on that Wednesday night against Charlton. But we need to see Richarlison or Solanke, whoever does on Saturday, have a good game, because that is the one area I feel that a lot of the fans have no confidence in at the minute. Doesn't matter who really plays through the middle, if it's Solanke or Richarlison, the fans are not really excited by that. Marmouche could be announced in the next 24 hours, but will he be ready to play on Saturday? I'm not sure. So there is every chance that Solanke or Richarlison will start on Saturday. So definitely important for him to get that goal.
If Marmouche comes in, Gareth, I don't see any reason why he wouldn't be put straight in like Savio was today. Roberto De Zerbi obviously trusted him, and he did very well this evening, which we'll talk about shortly. But Marmouche, 5 games against Newcastle, 7 goals.
He's got a funny record against them. He hasn't scored a lot of goals for Man City, but a lot of them have come against Newcastle. So listen, I think we'll speak about, I don't know who Savinho was, I know you mentioned at the start, but I only know Savio. Savio looks much better than Savinho, by the way. But what I will say is, if Marmouche is signed, and from what we're hearing, it could be as early as tomorrow morning. But I think it would be a big call not to put him on, based on the opposition that he would be up against, in terms of Solanke and Richarlison having really set the world on fire. I think Solanke had a good first season, but we haven't really seen him get back to those levels due to injuries. Richarlison, that's not going to get the fans off their seat, really, is it? Whilst I do think he's harshly treated, I think Marmouche comes in, has a few training sessions, plays Savio after tonight. It's going to be impossible not to play him. So it could be a different look on attack that plays against Newcastle than we've seen against Brentford on Saturday past.
I've got to say, there were 2 players this evening that got the fans off their seats, and they were Mikey Moore and Savio when he came on. Gareth, let's stay with you for a second, because let's talk about the second half. After 47 minutes, good work from Mikey Moore again. Crossed in, blocked. The crowd were on their feet at this point. A couple of minutes later, Matisse Tell with a shot at the goalkeeper from 20 yards. After 60 minutes, Archie Gray crossing in, Tell, another shot at the goalkeeper. Then Roberto De Zerbi made a treble sub. Danso, Van de Ven, Poro, all coming on. Destiny Udogie, Van Hecke and Bentancur all going off. And then just moments later, Kevin Danso made it 3-0 to Spurs. What do you make of Tottenham's third goal this evening?
I think it was Danzo's first goal, if I'm not mistaken. So it was a great moment for Danzo. I think those subs give the stadium a real lift. Just seeing the likes of Van de Ven, who's obviously been announced captain, Pedro Porro, World Cup winner, although looked way off it, I have to say, in terms of just his all-round play. Like a few crosses, he couldn't even beat the first man, which is unlike him. But he needs game time, and he's just back from a break. So, brilliant moment for Danzo. It's not all, he had a difficult moment after that Brighton game last year when he made that mistake for the Brighton equaliser. But from that point on, we seen Savio then. He was getting ready to come on, and it just seemed like the game became such a different game. You think about the last 30 minutes compared to the first 30 minutes of the game, it just felt like a really different energy about the Tottenham team. They looked like they could score at will at that point. Now, bearing in mind, Charlton were probably a beaten team at this stage. They'd made a few subs, as you mentioned, in the first half for injury. I don't know the strength of that Charlton team in that second half, and they were obviously 2 goals down at half time. We really probably can't get carried away with it, but it was nice to see goals, and it was nice to see, and we'll speak about it in a minute, but players coming on and making an impact. And, that in itself, whether it's against Charlton or whether it will be against a Sunday League team, the fans will be really hanging on to that feeling now going on the Saturday that they've seen players in glimpses. Can they go and because Mateus Fernandes had moments tonight where you think there's a real player in him as well. So I think everyone will go on the Saturday thinking about tonight as opposed to Saturday past there. They'll try and go on with that good feeling now, and let's hope the season started tonight, because we know we've got quality in this team, Chris. It's just about now bedding in, fighting a team and a formation that works, and ultimately getting results. And I do think Saturday is going to be a tough game, but we've got to find a way to get through this early season period, because I do think you'll see the best of this team possibly after this international break. I do think until we get up to speed and we get players in the positions that they're more familiar with. Of course, the transfer window that we've been covering all summer, Chris, is still ongoing. There's still a lot of uncertainty around a lot of clubs in England, not just Spurs. So I almost think that these first few games is almost like a bit of a pre-season. I think once the transfer window closes, you see what teams have. I'm not panicking at the moment. I'm not getting too carried away with tonight, but I'm also not panicking. I do think we've got a decent squad here that can have a really very good season.
Kate, I'm going to come to you now. After 71 minutes, it's Savio time. So take it away. Tell us what you made of his performance. How excited are you? Because, of course, this has been a very, very long time coming. We've waited over a year. Roberto De Zerbi said that they got into negotiations just 3 days after the Everton game. This is a player that Roberto De Zerbi desperately wanted to sign. He believes that he is going to score goals. He believes that he is going to provide a lot of assists. He believes that he is going to be a top player. He's spoken very, very highly about Savio, and the crowd this evening here at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium were very, very excited about his arrival, by him coming on for Dominic Solanke after 71 minutes. And then, of course, we'll talk about his goal shortly, but what did you make of his overall performance?
I've got to be honest, I've not been on the Savio train at all. I look at his stats for City and I looked at Tel stats for Spurs, and there was very, very, very little difference between the two. So to spend that sort of money to me was madness. But my husband, Jimbo, has been going on and on and on about Savio. So I'm never going to hear the end of this now. But I'm quite happy to be muddied about this guy, because he looked absolute different class when he came on. I mean, literally looked levels above any winger I've seen play for a while. It just got a bit of swagger about him, comfortable on the ball. Had a couple of chances as well that he could have scored. I love his celebration. Brilliant. The sort of player that you want, that's going to get you out your seat. And when there's no if about it, Gareth, Marmoush is going to sign 1,000,000%. When they are there together, I cannot wait to see what they do. It is going to be just something that I think we've longed for, that excitement up front. It's been so bland and passive since Kane and Sonny have left. And since, the thought of Marmoush, Savio, and a fully fit Kudos on the other side is, wow, it's sort of unbelievable.
He did look like a different player to the one we seen him. I know it was only Charlton, but he seemed to have a lot of confidence about him, which I haven't really seen when I've watched them.
No, but you know what I think it is? I think it's because he knows De Zerbi has got so much confidence in him. And I think that's what we're going to find with a lot of these players. De Zerbi's very good at, like when he said that Solanke is one of the best number 9s in the Premier League. I think we can all agree he probably doesn't really believe that. But what a confidence booster if you're Dominic Solanke to hear that. And I think he knows how much Tottenham have wanted him. He's wanted Tottenham because he's liked every single Instagram post that anyone who works at Tottenham Hotspur's ever written. And I think he's got a point to prove, and I'm beyond excited to see what this guy can do. And Marmoush is the guy that I adore. So I think it's really exciting times for Spurs to have those two up front. So yeah, absolutely sensational.
Tim, let's come to you. After 72 minutes, Mateus Fernandes had a shot at the goalkeeper. Talk to me about Mateus Fernandes. How excited are you that he is now in a Spurs shirt? It looked at one point in the summer that he might sign for Manchester United. Spurs got this deal over the line. We've got 7 deals over the line. Marmoush could be an 8th transfer in this summer transfer window. An incredible summer that Spurs have had. What do you make of Fernandes today?
I think he really grew into the game. He was really quiet. He seemed really quiet the first half hour or so. And then, as I said, I remember him taking one on the half turn and beating a player, and it just looked so silky. And as the second half went on, he seemed to be dictating play loads and loads more. Because you've got to remember, currently we haven't got a number 10, right? So for at least a couple of weeks, probably, if ever. So I think he was almost sitting in that number 10 spot because they were sitting right back, especially deep in that second half when he's taking that shot. Everything was going through him, and he was kind of gaining confidence as he got along. So if we think about him with the rest of our new people, I think I'm feeling very excited about that. He's definitely a silky player. I think someone put in the chat earlier, he's only a few years older than Bergvall, and yet you can see the difference in level of that. Couple of years on, and he's, gone from a minor club. I don't know who they were, some East London club, for a few years, and then he just looks like a different class, really. As did Savinho. He comes on, right, and all of a sudden we've got pace, we've got people running, a person, because we're not used to this, making defenders back off as he runs into the box and absolutely petrified to touch him. And I know you come onto the goal, but that's exactly what happened. They all backed off and backed off and backed off because although, it's a goal we wouldn't have scored last year because it was shot from outside the box. So, which is obviously a stupid thing to do. I won't tread anyone else's feet, but yeah, I think Fernandes is going to be a great player. That midfield's going to be super hot, and certainly second half of the season when we got people back. Back to Marmoush. Maybe we'll have to bring him on as a number 10 on Saturday, right? Behind Solanke, Savinho on the right. I think that'll be fine because he played 10 behind Haaland, doesn't he? So he can play anywhere, Marmoush, can't he, Kate? You love him.
He can. Fernandes played as a 10 as well when he was at Southampton.
Exactly.
So maybe we're overrun.
We'll play with two number 10s just to piss everyone off. So yeah, I'm feeling really bright about the future. Again, the caveats are a littler club, second team exactly, but I think there was enough to show there that people's intent. Even that, you'll get onto it. Even that little run inside where Pedro pokes it over the bar because Savinho cuts it inside to him, and there was a big smile on his face, going, "This guy knows what to do." So it's all little things like that that made me feel like, yeah, this is going to be fun. It's not going to be a straightforward season because we're Spurs, right? But it's going to be fun roller coaster this season.
I completely agree. And I love it how Gareth says it's only Charlton. You say that to a West Ham fan right now when
Yeah.
went to London Stadium. Yeah. It's only Charlton. It's only Charlton, Gareth.
Sorry, Charlton.
Gareth, let's come to you. After 74 minutes, Charlton had a good chance. A great save from Anthony Kinski, and then he saved again from another Charlton chance a couple of minutes later. Tell put a cross in. Savio tried to flick it after 78 minutes. What did you make of Matisse Tell and his performance this evening?
That name's going to take a bit of getting used to, isn't it, Chris? The name change has caught everybody out. Just on that, I do think Savio sounds more devastating than Savinho. I just think that there's something about that name that I think almost, I don't know, the name change is almost like him reinventing himself. I know it's Charlton Athletic, but it's almost like he needs that sort of pivot in terms of, it's been such, this is a player that Pep spoke about being potentially one of the best in the world at the time. So I don't know whether this will give him he's unleashed now, but it definitely did look a lot better than we seen at Man City tonight. So it'll be interesting to see how much he terrifies Newcastle on Saturday. I'm really hoping that this is like a Mo Salah thing with Chelsea Liverpool, that it didn't happen at Chelsea and all of a sudden he became this incredible player for Liverpool. I really hope it's the same for us. But listen, I've been reading a lot of the comments and I have to agree with a lot of the viewers, Chris, that Matisse Tell's performance was very disappointing. I don't think he's done a lot in the game. There was a lot of twisting and turning back ways, and I'm really at a crossroads with Tell. I've never been a huge fan of him. I think he came with this big reputation from Bayern Munich. And I thought when he came on loan, it was a good opportunity for him to try and refresh the Bayern, that early promise that he showed as a player. But then when it didn't really happen on that loan spell. But when I seen that Bayern Munich negotiated such a low fee after agreeing the higher fee to get rid of him, it worried me that was it misguided in terms of his potential. I get a couple of decent games towards the back end of last season, but I think when you compare him to some of the players that we're going to have now, I don't know where he fits in. I don't know what his real strengths are. He's not been a prolific goal scorer. His shooting can be, whilst he scored that great goal against Leeds, it can be very wild and erratic at times. 1v1. I don't see him beating players consistently. I can't remember a game where Tell had a fullback on toast. Whilst again we have to be referenced to Ozil and Charlton. Charlton were terrified of Savio. They were running in treacle in those last 30 minutes. I haven't really seen Tell do that in 2 seasons, a year and a half. So I think it's going to be difficult for Tell to get into this team once the transfer window's closed. And unfortunately, I just don't think he's good enough for a team that wants to possibly be playing Champions League football. Honestly, nice. Seems like a nice player. I think he tries his best, but no, not for me. I think it's going to be the beginning of the end for him now this season. I don't see him being a regular once the squad's finalised on Tuesday evening.
Gareth, I've already asked Kate about Savio, so I'll give you the opportunity to talk about his goal. After 83 minutes, Savio made it 4-0. The place erupted at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. Great to see, a player like this, a player like I mentioned earlier, who we have chased for so long, get on the score sheet, score a great goal, and he certainly enjoyed it.
Unbelievable moment. And I have to be honest, and I'm sure a lot of the viewers have probably seen my comments about Savio over the last sort of few weeks, but, I wasn't sure he had that in him. I really wasn't. Whilst I knew there was a lot of skill and a lot of ability there, I didn't really see him being that player that would beat players like that and just unleash a shot into the corner. I kind of felt it was more intricate, and you'd see the odd nice touch, and he would be maybe involved in link-up play. I didn't really see that player going on to do something like that. Of course, he's going to have to do it more regularly, but I think he set the standard now that almost he took the ball of being that main man. I'm going to show you what I can do here, and I'm going to put this into the corner. Almost Gareth Bale, like the way he drafted in and just unleashed that shot into the corner. So I think that's got to be a positive in that he, as it says, the name change thing. I think that is all psychological too. I really do. When have we ever heard of name changes and stuff? It doesn't happen that often. So I do think that it's almost forget about Savinho. This is now Savio, and this is what I'm going to show you that I can do. So I think naturally there's a lot of excitement there. The goal was incredible, and I really hope it's the beginning of Savio and him going on to be a very successful player for us, because you can see already the fans love him. With an introduction like that, I think every time he gets the ball now on Saturday, there's going to be a real excitement around the stadium. And there hasn't been that for a long time, Chris. I've been to a lot of games. Obviously, you've been there a lot more than me, but I have often found myself speaking to fans saying, before the game, who's going to be the difference today, or who's going to get you off your seat? And you were wondering, going, well, I don't know. I never really got that with Matisse Tell. I never really got that with Wolfs Noderberg. I think already in such a short glimpse, and I don't want to completely pivot from what I've been saying about Savio. I'm very happy to be proven wrong on Savio, but from what I seen tonight, I didn't really think he had that on him. And I'm sure there's Man City fans actually watching that tonight going, yes, it was only Charlton, but he's played against teams like that in cups, and they haven't really seen that. That's probably the best goal he scored for an English team. A lot of his goals for Man City weren't as special as that. So, look, let's hope it's a start of something really special.
Tim, I'm going to jump to you to talk about Savio because, of course, he scored Tottenham's 4th goal. We all thought here in the stadium that he'd scored Tottenham's 5th goal as well, and he had a brace. But, of course, it's now been credited to Ben Davies. A couple of great knee slides right in front of the South Stand, one on the left side, one on the right side. But Roberto De Zerbi, in the embargoed press conference ahead of this game, he said Savinho or Savio's job is to assist and to score goals. We need goals. Gareth just spoken lengthy there about Savio, and it has been spoken about. Kate mentioned it earlier about the goal record, assist record. We need goals, we need assists from him. But he played a great part tonight, and I know Gareth will sit there and go, it's only Charlton. But I tell you what, going forward, I think a lot of people are excited about what they saw this evening. How excited are you?
I'm really excited. I'm the same as you other guys. I didn't know a lot about him because I haven't seen him very much because he hasn't played very much over here. So I was thinking, I don't really understand why they're paying whatever 80 million more for this kid. Now I completely understand, because again, even though it's below against lower opposition, just his intent. He was driving at people, wrong foot in people. So the first goal happens that way. The second goal happens his second goal struck off happens that way, where he cuts inside again and whacks it to the near post again. It's just that the old man Ben Davies's creaking hips got in the way and just clipped it past him. So it's credited to Ben Davies on that. Bless him. We love Ben, but I just think, if we go back to Tell, he tries his heart out. He puts in 100%, but the difference in skill between the two of them is quite astonishing, really. So I know it's gone dark there, Chris. They're chucking you out. I'm at the moment, I'm super excited about Savinho. I'd be quick about it. And I think Tell will stay on, and De Zerbi will improve him, and he'll play with players like Marmoush and Savinho and learn a lot from him, and he'll become a better player. I think these people not only will create more goals and score more goals, they'll teach better skills to the people that are already there.
Kate, let's come back to you. We're unlucky not to keep a clean sheet. What do you make of us defensively today? Because, of course, Charlton got their consolation in the 87th minute. It finished 5-1. What did you make of their goal?
I thought it was just sloppy. It was kind of like we'd switched off. We knew the game was done, and it was just sloppy defending. I've got to stick up for my guy Tell here. I think that Gareth's being very harsh on him. He's a young guy. He tries his absolute every game, and I think in pre-season he's been superb. So I don't see him just being moved on because we've got Savio. We've got Savio, and he was brilliant for one game, but it is only one game. Okay, and it is only against Charlton. We've got to see what happens from there on in. And I think De Zerbi will develop Tell, and I think he'll develop Savio and everybody else. But yeah, I was a bit disappointed we conceded. There is a bit of a thing with Spurs where I do think we're a little bit lightweight at times. We haven't really got a big guy. That's why I was a bit disappointed at the weekend that Danso didn't play, because I think Van Heck and Senesi were clearly struggling on Saturday, and I thought De Zerbi should have brought Danso on. He brought him on tonight, and he scored a header because he's the one that's big and lumpy and is going to score a goal. So, yeah, I don't want to harp too much on the fact that we conceded because the game was already won, but I think it was just a case of they kind of had switched off, lost concentration. They're probably all in a little bit of shock that Savio had come on and done what he done, and they were still a bit starstruck and shocked by it, and that's how we ended up conceding the goal. But yeah,
I'd imagine De Zerbi got the right hump about losing that goal late on there, don't you? Can you imagine someone getting it? I mean, it was a free header, right? It was a free header at the back post. I can cope with them scoring, but the free header, like you were saying, they switched off completely to allow someone back there. And I think, again, like Saturday, I'm hoping that's a learning point. Right, boys, you can't switch off. I don't care if we're 5-0 up. We can't switch off. Don't let that happen again.
Yeah.
I suppose when you mentioned Taylor, maybe it seems like I'm being harsh. And it wasn't like I was comparing, I didn't mean to compare him to Savio. But whatever happens with Savio, whether that's a flash in the pan and doesn't become a success, or that is the start of something special, I just don't think in 18 months we've seen enough from Tel. You know, I think there's been the odd flash, but I think it's got to the point now where if Marmoush is coming in, Savio's coming in, Kudos is coming back, I think Tel's going to struggle to get into this team based on what we've seen over 18 months.
He's a good squad player, and that's what Tottenham need. They need a good squad, not just a good first 11. And I think that Tel's got real potential, but he just let down sometimes by his decision making. And I just think that De Zerbi will work on that with him, and he will improve.
I actually see more in Mikey Moore than I do in Tel, to be honest.
No.
I really do.
Wow.
I really do.
Just a question for you guys quickly, because we haven't mentioned him, Luca Williams-Barnett. I wonder what you think will happen to him in the future, because he's a very exciting player. Bit quiet tonight, but he only came on for, I think, 10 minutes or so. What do you guys think will happen to Luca Williams-Barnett?
I think if I can answer this one, Tim, I think that
go for it.
He's too young to go out on loan, and I think that he should be developed and managed very, very well this season under Roberto De Zerbi, and I think that he can be a star. He is a star for the future, and I think that De Zerbi recognises that. And I tell you what, I love the interaction between him and Luca Williams-Barnett this evening, and the hug that he gave him before he came on. I posted out a video of that actually, so do check that out. But yeah, cup games, I think even league games, because De Zerbi said the other day, had we have not played like that, the plan was to actually put him on in the second half against Brentford. So it's nice to see our development players actually getting through. And De Zerbi said that he has a lot of respect for the academy. So this is great to see, because we've been promised, quite often in the last couple of years that we will see more of the development guys coming through to the first team. So this is a player for the future, and I hope that his game time is managed very, very well. But I'm glad you brought him up. Before we move on to talk about the Newcastle game on Saturday, is there anything else that either or all three of you would like to talk about? Any players that we haven't mentioned, any instance we haven't mentioned as yet?
I just think that Bentancur was excellent tonight.
Solid.
It was, yeah. And I think him and Fernandez worked so well together. And Bentancur had that bad injury, and we was all concerned. And I think it was a real old school performance from him. He just goes about his job and does it brilliantly. So, and I think when he went off, we actually lost a little bit of control of the game. So that's the only one I'd want to shout out, really.
No, I would agree. I think Bentancur, Fernandez, and Tonali's got to be the midfield on Saturday, from what I've seen.
Yeah. And my last one is I always give a shout out to Kev, who is just a man mountain. It's just so we're so lucky to have him on the bench. He is so dependable, and it's like so underestimated as well. Love Kev Danso.
Yeah.
So last question. We are going to be doing a pre-match preview show, so we'll keep this short and brief. Gareth, what would you like to see in terms of team selection on Saturday against Newcastle? What do you see happening in the game? And feel free, if you'd like to give us a score prediction.
Yeah, I'll rattle through it very quickly, Chris. I would go Kianski. It's difficult to know where Pedro Porro's at. Based on tonight, I don't think he's ready to start a game, so I'll go Archie Gray right back. I would agree. I would agree with Tom says about Danzo possibly, but I just don't see a world in which Van Hecke doesn't play. I just think he's been signed. He's going to play, so it's going to be Van Hecke. Van de Ven's just back. I have a feeling Van de Ven might come on for this game, but I feel it's going to be a big game and he's going to bring him on. So I'm going to go. I think I'm going to go with the team I think De Zerbi will pick. So I'm going to go Kianski, Archie Gray, Van Hecke, Van de Ven, Robertson, Bentancur, Fernandez, Tonali. Not sure. Fernandez might be the one that plays further up. Based on maybe he's the most creative out of them. And I think the front three will be Savio, Marmoush, and Matisse Tell. I think that'll be the team that he picks De Zerbi for the weekend.
Gareth, can I just ask, were you surprised in any way this evening that Savio didn't come in on the left-hand side?
No, I wasn't. Because I think we have a fair idea that there's going to be a player coming on that area. So I think that's the biggest clue that whether Marmoush plays out there or Marmoush plays through the middle, there's going to be somebody else being signed on that other side. No, not surprised. And from what I've seen of Savio, I think he has to play off. I think if he's playing on that other side, I don't see him scoring goals like he scored tonight. He needs to be able to come on his stronger foot. So it'll be interesting once Kudos is back, Kulusevski, Xavi Simons, Matt. I mean, he's got a lot of big decisions as a manager, but he's got a lot of quality to pick from. If we can get to this stage, we get all these players fit. I mean, that's an embarrassment of quality in that forward area in terms of the players that can play in behind the striker. You've got so much potential there. So I definitely think there's going to be at least, if Marmoush is number 8, Chris, I think we'll end up with at least 9 or possibly, I know we'll be speaking about it next week in the transfer show, but could we even do double the digits? Could we end up with 10 players? I think there's definitely at least one more after Marmoush, if not 2.
Now, we didn't mention Sandro Tonali's absence from the squad this evening. Now, Roberto De Zerbi has explained this in the post-match presser tonight. He said Sandro was in a plan to work with Marco Senesi yesterday, very strong to improve their physical condition. Sandro Tonali has to work to feel better in terms of physical condition, but Saturday he will be in the starting 11. So there's a clue for you, Kate. Who's your starting 11?
Obviously Kinski in goal. I would start Porro. I can't bear Archie Gray at the back. I think he's awful. I think I'd do a better job if you want to know the truth. Then I'd have Van de Ven and Chris is laughing because he knows how savage I am. Van de Ven and Dancer.
All I was going to say is thank God for Tim this evening, because I think you two have been pretty harsh.
I think Archie Gray is atrocious, and it's not his fault because he doesn't like playing in that position. But if we don't bring in someone there, we're in trouble. I'm going Van de Ven Danso because I think he deserves it, and Udogie. obviously Bentancur, Tonali and Fernandes. And then I'm going to be outrageous and I'm going to go Savio, Solanke and Marmouche on the left.
You're dropping Tell.
I'm dropping Tell. I'd drop anyone for my guy Marmouche. I'm just going to tell you that right now.
Are we doing score predictions, Gareth and Kate?
It's a toughie. 3-1 Spurs.
Gareth, what's your score prediction before Tim comes in?
2-1 Spurs.
Tim, I don't know whether you watched the Newcastle v Liverpool game, an entertaining game.
Yes.
I think a lot of their fans were expecting a lot different to what they had, and I think they're very excited about the start of the season. And their manager seems to be a very decent guy, and he's going to get the best out of these players. It looks like. I know it's only after one game, but they looked pretty decent at St James's Park. What sort of game are you expecting? How difficult is this game going to be? And like I mentioned and touched on earlier, our home record last season, only 3 home wins in the Premier League. The first one was on the opening weekend against Burnley. Then the second was against Brentford in December. And then the third only came on the final day of the season against Everton. So this home form in the Premier League must change.
Yeah, and I think that'll inform who he picks. It will be a hard game. They're really physical, and their midfield is really physical. And again, that might change who he picks in those positions. I doubt he'll pick the youngsters. I think he'll go for experience all the way around. He'll put Robinson on the left. He'll definitely play Van der Ven. I think he'll probably play Porro. And I think he'll play Van Hecker to start off with, but Danso as a possible when they put Dan Burn up front. Danso to
Dan Burn's injured.
Oh, is he? Oh, excellent. Yeah. Good news. So, yeah, I think Van Hecker will be in. I think the 3 midfielders will be the 3 most experienced midfielders. I think Bentancur, Tonali, Fernandes will play. And I think Savinho will start. I think Dom will be down the middle. And I don't know who will play on the left. I don't think, even if they sign Marmouche, I don't think they'll play him. I think they'll hold off on that. So left.
Why would you wait? Why would you wait, Tim? Why?
Because
Chris has no patience, by the way. So
yeah, Kate's got no patience. Why would I wait? Because I just don't think Premier League teams aren't like Sunday teams where you could just bring someone in. I know you're going to say Savinho, but it's a different kettle of fish bringing him on for the last 10 minutes. To start that game would be really tricky for him, unless
Not
we
for
were
Marmouche.
really pushed.
He'd handle it.
Is he going to be Mr. Marmite?
There'll be a lot of disappointed Tottenham fans if Marmouche isn't in the first 11 if he's on the bench.
You reckon?
Oh,
I think Savio will definitely go in there. I think he's been named after a kind of Godfather hitman. That's what he's going to be. But I think Marmouche will be on the bench. But I don't know who's going to play on the left. I mean, Kudus is only a couple of weeks away. Well, Kudus is in training, but I don't think he'll start. He'll be on the bench as well. So, okay, I'll be nice to Kate. Marmouche on the left, Dom in the middle, and behind them will be Fernandes and Savinho, the Godfather assassin, will be on the left, scoring at least 1 goal.
Hopefully, we will see a lot more knee slides from Savio at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, and of course in the away games as well. And,
I do think, like you were saying though, I think it's really, really, really important we get a result. Even a draw. Something needs to happen. We can't, because if it gets into their head that they can't win at this stadium again, we are foobarred. It's going to be a horrible season. So I think they'll sneak a win, but they definitely don't want to lose that game.
Yeah, I disagree
Sorry, I was just going to say the Newcastle goalkeeper's out as well, injured.
Okay, that's handy. All right, I change it. 4-1 Spurs. Easy.
So Gareth, if we win against Newcastle, I don't want you coming on here saying it's only Newcastle. You know, you've got to respect these teams, and you've got to respect the work that Tottenham are doing. All right?
Let's not take any kind of result on Saturday. I'll take any kind of result.
Any kind of result,
Like Tom said, I do think Newcastle were always going to be up for that game against Liverpool. First home game of the season. Isak coming back. It was always going to have that atmosphere to it. This is a bit different. Newcastle away from home. They still have had a turbulent summer. You know, even tonight, they struggled against West Brom. They fell over the line in the end by 3-2-1. So I do think it's going to be a different Newcastle in terms of, I don't think it's going to be that was like a cup final for Newcastle with the Isak thing, and after the summer they've had, all those sort of bad moments they've had, I think we were always going to get a reaction. So I do think it's a good opportunity for Spurs to get off day one and start at home. But like De Zerbi says, and it's not a surprise when you hear about Tonali, I do think a lot of our players are still searching for that top condition. So I don't, I would love for Spurs to come out and make a statement and go 3 or 4-0. But listen, I would take any kind of result over any kind of performance. I do think at this stage of the season, it's just about getting points on the board, and the performances will come once the players are in better condition.
Yep, I completely agree, Gareth. Thank you so much for joining me, all three of you this evening. Tim, thank you so much. Where can people find you on social media? What are you up to at the moment?
Yeah, I'm Tim J. Spurrier on Instagram. Still got my show every Sunday on the Face Radio in New York and Totally Wired Radio in London. So if you fancy chilling out on a Sunday, just come listen to some soul and jazz and funk just to celebrate a glorious Tottenham Hotspur win on Saturday. I'm on the Sunday at 2:00 GMT.
Tim, great to have you with us. Thank you so
Always
much.
A pleasure, sir.
Hopefully we'll speak to you soon. Gareth, thank you so much. We'll see you on Friday back on the channel. What are you up to at the moment, and where can people find you?
I'm trying to work it out there. I think I'm back on in about 40 hours time. So you don't have much respite, Chris. I'm like a bad smell at the minute. You just can't get rid of me, can you? But we're back. We're back for week 2 predictions, and of course Spurs Newcastle is going to be a hot topic. So looking forward to that show. And you can find me on that handle underneath. And of course, it's getting I don't want to say me, Chris, are like Jim White and Simon Jordan on deadline day, but we're getting very close to one of the biggest days in the year for us, that transfer deadline show. So not far away now. Hopefully a couple more signings, and it's going to be a busy few days for us, I think, talking about the Premier League, talking about Spurs, and of course talking about transfers.
Yep. Busy. It's all happening. Thank you so much, Gareth, and Kate. Thank you so much to you. And what are you and Jimbo up to at the moment on the channel?
We are. We've decided to go all in on the channel, and we're doing content every single day. We wanted to get to 3,000 subs by the start of the season. We're nearly at 4,000. So, do come over and give us a sub. We're just, it's always really chilled. We're like Tim's radio station, chilled, but Jim always thinks we're going to win the league. I tend to try and bring a bit more reality to the show, but yeah, it's always a laugh. So yeah, do come over and give us a sub. There's always something going on.
Well, what are we winning this year?
What are we winning this year?
The treble.
Yeah, I like the treble. I'm going to say the FA Cup. Why not? It's about time Tottenham won the FA Cup.
Yeah, it's about time.
I'm telling you now, Chris will take one at an Anfield, because me and Chris have been to Anfield a couple of times and that's usually miserable. So maybe beat Liverpool and we're on our way to the treble. That'll be a start.
I hate that journey, particularly coming home, because we've had some poor results up there over the years. Yeah, but I love Jim's cameo. Thank you so much to him. Gareth, Kate, Tim, thank you so much. Thanks for watching, everyone. Thanks for listening. I'm sorry it is a shorter podcast, but I have got a home to get to, and I'm currently sitting outside the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium on the stairs. So thank you so much, and we will speak to you soon. Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.